Good morning, and welcome to another FastTracks webinar. Webinars are weekly events that are held on Fridays at 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern. And they cover a variety of topics from the FastTracks applications. To get to the webinars, if you'll just go to our website at goftx.com, you can then go to the FTx Lifeline. And once there, we're going to scroll about halfway down the screen till we get to the webinar section. From here, we're able to go in and register for upcoming webinars. We can view previous webinars, and you can also sign up and subscribe to get notified of upcoming webinars and other FastTracks news. So today we're going to be covering doing inventory counts in warehouse. So an inventory count is where you just go through your warehouse, you count your products to verify that you have the correct on hands, make sure you're not missing any product. All right, to get there, what we want to do is from within warehouse, once we open it up, we want to go to inventory. And then we're going to go to the inventories tab. So here we have two tabs. We have inventory counts and we have inventory definitions. The first thing we want to talk about is the definitions. So a definition is a way that you can split up your warehouse into categories where you're only counting small chunks at a time. So you don't have to count the whole warehouse at one given time. The way we would do a inventory definition is we would come down to the bottom and hit add. We'll give it a name. We'll just call this one test. And then we base the items for this definition based off of, and we have many options. We can do it off of categories or by location. And we can do one based off of damaged / returns. And then also we have the option to do it off of product lines. So the first two options, categories and locations, these are all coming from our tree view. So if we pull up an item here, the categories is the top section here. By default, they're numbered 1 through 10, but of course they are editable, and you can make them say whatever you want them to say. There's previous webinars where we discuss how to change the names of your categories. Same for locations. This is just where the products are located. So it may be easier for you to count, say, like an aisle in your warehouse instead of having to go to different aisles to count. This is where the categories and locations are being pulled from. The damaged on returns option, that's just that. If you've got items that are marked as damaged and you're returning them back to the vendor, it would just pull those items in. So that's going to be kind of a dynamic definition because it's going to change week to week or month to month whenever you do your count. Because as you send stuff back, it'll get cleared out and more things would be placed in as damage / return. So that can change. The last one was product line, and that's just that. It's going to count the whole product line that you choose here. So what I want to do is take a look at a couple that we have already done. I have one listed as cigarettes, and we can see that it does show as category 1 is my definition type. And I have another one here that's weighted tobacco, and it's using product line. All right, so the way that we'd go to start a new inventory count is we go back to the inventory count screen. And down here at the bottom, we have a drop down. These are the definitions that we currently have. So if I want to do cigarettes, for example, I'll just click on cigarettes and I can click on start. It's going to ask me if I want to start a new inventory using the definition cigarettes. I'll tell it yes. And it tells me my count has started. So as you can see, I've got warehouse definition cigarettes. This is open. It tells me that it was started today. Today's at the current time. It puts the same time frame in for finished, but of course the status tells us that it's open, so it's not finished yet. Then our last column is how much variance there is. So I'm going to just tell this to view so we can take a look at this this worksheet. So as you can see, I have 3 items on here. So what I'd want to do on my count is I'd want to go and physically count these 3 items. Now there's a couple ways to do it. One is I could just print this out, take it and write down my numbers and come back and I could enter that in. And that would be done under user quantity. I could actually go in and type in my quantities if they're correct. And as I do that, you can see my variance dollars changed. So I have no variance. I have no variance quantity. And we can also see that at the top of the screen. It tells me there's 3 total items. I don't have any that are left uncounted. I had 0 variance, and there's a 0 variance dollar. All right, I'm actually going to delete this one, and I'm going to restart it, and I'm going to show you a different way that you can do the count. All right, so here's the count again, the same numbers. But this time what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use my handheld to scan. So on the Android app, I'll log in and I get to this screen and I'm going to go to my inventory module. So this shows me what open definitions I have currently. Here's my cigarettes that we just started. So I click on it. As you can see, it says that I have no items that have been scanned. I'll just simply go through and I'll scan the items. So with this one being cigarettes, if you're using stamp tracking in Warehouse, you're going to get this option. It's going to ask you what stamp you're using. No stamp, or if you're using any other type of stamp, like in this case I have New York City available, I could click New York City and enter how many items I have that are already pre-stamped with the New York City stamp. Most time if you're stamping, you're not going to have them stamped. So I'm going to have it as no stamp. I'm going to tell that OK. And then from here, as you can see, it tells us the item number, the quantity on hand, the item, that it is a no stamp, and then I would just put in my quantity. I'll tell it to add. All right, so as that's added to my handheld, you see it shows me the item, how many was expected, how many I counted. So I would just continue to go through and scan. All right, on this one, it says I have 47.8, but I'm going to put in just 47. All right, so that's my 3 items. What if I scan an item that's actually not on my count? It's going to tell me there's no item found for that one. It's not in that definition, so therefore it's not supposed to be counted. So once I finish scanning in the in the handheld here. I'm just going to exit out of it. I'm going to go back to my warehouse program on the workstation. I'm going to go back and look at that worksheet. So now you can see it shows I have these counted, that they were scanned, and it puts in my quantity. You notice on the top one, I done 47. The snapshot said I had 47.8. I have a variance of negative 0.8. And here's my total variance dollar amount. And again, at the top, it tells us 3 items. All of them have been counted. I had 1 variance item and the total amount of variance dollar that I had. With the worksheet, I just want to make sure everything looks to be correct. I don't have any numbers that are way off. That could be caused by when somebody was scanning an item. They thought they entered the quantity and they went and scanned another item, which put another UPC in as far as the user quantity count, which would give you a huge number as far as your amount that you're entering in. If you notice something like that, you'd want to just go check that item, come back, and use the user adjust and put in the correct amount. But if everything looks good the way this one does, I'm going to come down to the bottom and tell it to save and reconcile. It's going to ask me if I want to reconcile the inventory, and I'm going to apply the user counts to inventory. I'll tell it yes. So my inventory has been reconciled. So now these 3 items, this is my current quantity on hand of the items. The on hand does not change until I save and reconcile the count. All right, so I showed you being able to start from within warehouse. So we can also do that from within the warehouse app on the handheld. So again, if I go into inventory, it shows me what counts I have open already. But this time I'm going to go down to the plus sign at the bottom. It's asking me which definition I want to use. I'll tell it weighted tobacco in this case. Do I want to proceed? I'll tell it yes. So it starts my count. If we go back to the warehouse on the workstation and we refresh, we can see we have our weighted tobacco count started. So again, with this, we're just going to go through and scan our items. This one told me that it's not found. This item is on the definition, but for some reason it's not reading my UPC. If I come down here to the bottom, I have these options. So I can actually look at uncounted items here. So I have the option also to be able to hit the search bar and I can actually type in my item number. Oops, I accidentally hit a period there. Well, it does not like my barcodes here. Let's try doing this. Let's go back. Since I know the one for my cigarettes were working, let's do cigarettes again. All right, so again, I'll tell this one no stamp. I'm going to put in the same quantity. I'm going to tell it to add. So now if we look at the settings at the bottom, we can see a show count history. We can look at uncounted items. Another option we have is always scan. I've got it set to disabled. What always scanned is instead of entering a quantity, you have to scan the item each time. So for example, this item had 112 in it and I typed in 112. Well, if I have always scan enabled, I would have to scan that item 112 times to get that number in there. The idea behind that is you scan each product physically to get your count. So when I go to look at account history, I can show only my recent history. I can show my scan history, or I can show all scan history. And it's showing me the items that I've got scanned. The other one is uncounted items. So it tells me I have these 2 items that I've yet to scan. So again, I would just go through, scan my item, put in the quantity and hit add. And again, if we look at the settings, you notice there's not an option to actually finish the count here. That's because by design, we have it where you go back into the worksheet on the workstation to verify everything looks good. So I'm just going to exit out of the handheld. We're going to go back. I want to refresh this one. So here's my second cigarettes one. Shows when I started it. It shows to still be opened. Again, I have 0 variance on this one. I'll view my worksheet. Everything's counted. Everything was scanned. I have my user quantities, and I have no variance on it. So again, if everything looks good, I can just tell it to save and reconcile, and I'll add that to my count. I said the other option is also a damaged option, and that is the definition where we use the damage/returns. As I mentioned on that one is kind of dynamic because it's going to change. If I hit start, I'm going to tell it that I want to use the damaged one. Now, if I look at this worksheet, this is going to show any item that I have set that is damaged. So this one's not sellable. I'm going to basically be returning this back to my vendor. This is the way that I can keep track of that as well. Chances are I'm not keeping this inventory in with the good merchandise. I'm probably got this in a separate section. So I'm going to just that area that's my damage section and doing my counts. If I go in and get the return sent back to my vendor and I have a 0 damage return, then that item would no longer show on this this cycle count the next time I go to do it. All right, that covers doing inventories in the warehouse program. We covered in warehouse and also using the handheld to do the counts. Again, webinars are weekly events that we hold on Fridays at 9 a.m. Central, 10 Eastern. The direct route to get to the webpage is just goftx.com/webinars, and that'll bring you straight to this page where you can then subscribe and get notified of the new upcoming webinars. You can register for upcoming ones. And if there's any previous ones that you missed or you want to go back and have a refresher, you can hit the view recording button and view previous webinars as well. All right, thank you and have a good day.